great future. We're talking real money.
Well, happy Friday. At least I hope it's a happy Friday because I'm recording this the day before Hurricane Milton, that's a very unusual name, is about to hit Central Florida where I live. So I'm hoping it's a happy Friday and not many bad things happen. Although I'm sure some bad things are going to happen because it's a big honking hurricane. Update you on the Saturday show. That's the next chance I'll have to tell you what's going on, assuming everything's working, because I'm doing the Saturday show alone because Tom is going to Las Vegas to see the Raiders. Why? No one really knows for sure. But welcome to Friday. It's the Q&A day, and today it's sort of a normal length Q&A. We've been getting through the backlog of questions, and so today we're going to feature four questions that came to us via talkingrealmoney.com on the contact form, the ones that you spoke in using the microphone on your phone or your tablet or your computer, and they generally sound a lot better than phone calls. Now, you can call us and actually talk to us with a phone call to us at 855-935-8255, which spells talk, but you can only do that on Saturdays. We take your calls live Saturdays between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, noon to 2 Pacific. And this Saturday, the 12th, I'll be taking your questions alone. So come by and talk with me. I would really appreciate it and enjoy doing it. Now, without further ado, let's go and do the first question of the day. This one.
Hey, Don and Tom. This is Jeff in South Carolina. I have been meaning to call on a Saturday, but 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock every Saturday seems to come and go without me finding an opportunity to call and talk to y'all live. So I'm recording my question. My thank you and my question. So a few months ago, in response to your podcast, I sent an email and requested a couple copies of Financial Physics. I'm a high school teacher. I teach forensic science and personal finance, and I've created two libraries in my classroom, one for teachers and one for students, for books on personal finance. And Financial Physics is one of my favorite books, so I requested a couple copies. Got a phone call not long after that from Tom. He told me a dad joke over the phone, which I appreciated, and sent me several copies of the book along with some other Talking Real Money goodies, and I appreciate all of it. So I hope you all know that I truly appreciate that and that those books are going to good use. I have a question about a 529. So I have a son who is nearing the end of college, but he's probably got about $10,000 worth of expenses left. We had opened a 529, but we spent all the money that was in there. But we have money sitting in savings that we were planning on using to finish out his time in college to pay the rest of the expenses. Someone suggested to me that I could open a South Carolina, the South Carolina 529, contribute the money from my savings account, then take it right back out and use it for those college expenses, and use those contributions to take a state income tax deduction. And I was just wondering about the feasibility of that. So is that something I can do, or does that money need to sit into that account for a certain amount of time before it can be spent? Hoping y'all have some insights on that. Looking forward to your response, and thanks for all that y'all do.
Of course, Tom told you a dad joke. He can't resist. He can't. It's a disease. It's a sickness. We just have learned to live with it. And I'm glad you appreciated the books. I'm thrilled you liked them. I could have made a longer book, but when I was writing it, I went, why do I need to make this longer? It's not that complicated. Anyway, on to your question. I don't know of any limit on how quickly you can use the money from a South Carolina 529 and take the tax deduction. As a matter of fact, they're very generous about their tax deduction. Let's assume for a minute you made a tax deduction this year. If you made it before you filed your federal income tax return or your state income tax return, you could take that deduction for 2023. So they're pretty generous about this deduction. And I looked and I cannot find anything that requires that it remain in the account for a certain amount of time. Literally, it looks like you can put it in and then go pay some bills with it for the beneficiary of that account. I don't see any reason you can't, unless I'm missing something. Again, I'm not an expert on all the state rules. In fact, I'm not an expert on all the rules of anything because they're all so complicated when it comes to tax law. But I think you're okay. So there you go. Thanks for calling, and thanks for the kind words. We really appreciate them. We have another question for you right here, right now.
Hello, Tom and Don. 7 years ago, I changed employers. I've left my 401k from the original company untouched. I haven't invested in index funds with low expense ratios, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04 is the highest for the international fund. I probably will not make any withdrawals until I'm required to make RMDs in about 10 years. My current employer also has a 401k, but it is no better. My question is, if there's any reason to move the original 401k to the current employer's 401k. If so, please explain why. Thanks. I enjoy learning from you guys.
No, I'm not going to explain why, because the answer is, in your case, no. There's no good reason. Your current plan, as you said, is no better, which implies that it's maybe worse. Those fees are very low if you're getting index funds in a diverse portfolio. For those kinds of fees, and it sounds like that's what you're getting, there's no good reason to do a darn thing, just as long as you don't forget it and forget to rebalance once in a while. But otherwise, the reason to move is just for simplicity's sake, or if you have a much better plan. But I don't see that either of those are the case here, so I would just leave it the heck alone. All right? Thanks so much for your question, and let's go to another one that came in from TalkingRealMoney.com on the contact form.
Hey, Tom and Don. This is Shannon from Georgia. I have a question about my retirement. I currently have a rollover IRA from a previous job, and with my current employer, I have a SEP IRA. I currently contribute about 7% of my pay with the employer match of up to 3%. I have the IRA, but between my husband and I's income, we make too much to contribute to a Roth IRA. My question is there any way for me to contribute to the Roth IRA without having to pay taxes on my current rollover IRA? If not, what is my best option for continuing to save for retirement and potentially having non-taxable income after retirement? Also, with my husband's income, since he does not have a rollover IRA, would it be possible for him to contribute to a backdoor Roth in his own name? Thanks for your help.
Well, the I in IRA thankfully stands for individual. There's no C. It's not a couple's retirement account. So therefore, if your husband does not have an existing regular IRA and wants to make a non-deductible contribution to a regular IRA and then immediately transfer that into a Roth IRA, in other words, the backdoor IRA, he is absolutely allowed to do that. Now, you can, as you know, you can still do it. What you ought to do with yours is look at the tax hit. If it's not a big hit, if you're not going to, and you do want to do a little, this is why it's so important to have a plan, some tax planning along the way. It might make sense if you believe your income, because you're a good saver, might be higher in retirement or similar, then you might want to convert some of that regular rollover IRA into a Roth anyway. Just do it in such a way that it doesn't kick you up to another bracket so you don't get hit too hard. Because if you have a lot of time, that tax-free benefit is huge. But yours is not clear-cut. His is absolutely clear-cut. Yes, he can do it. Thank you for the question. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the last one to come in for today to TalkingRealMoney.com on that contact form and then spoken to me like this.
Hi, Don. I have two questions about the fair valuation of ETFs. On September 25th, Schwab announced that it will forward share split 20 of the Schwab ETFs. I see some social media posts saying, hey, time to load up or time to buy. But in my opinion, this should have no impact on the fair valuation of those. I'm curious about your comments on this share splitting. Second question is, how do we know for sure when we're overpaying or getting a fair price for an ETF when we place the trade? I know during the day there's a bid-ask spread, which is pretty minimal. But is it possible that we put a market order in, and if there's only one person out there selling and they put a high limit sell order in, that we could actually overpay for something? I expect this would be even more of a concern during the after hours trading when there's limited activity. I believe I did this one time and regret it, putting a market order in during after hours where I think I did overpay by a few dollars a share. Curious about your comments on these two items. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Oh, you're so right about the share split, the stock split, the ETF split, whatever shares are splitting. It is a non-event financially. However, there is a psychological component. And it's a stupid psychological component, but sometimes people won't buy shares of something if the per share price looks too high. So often companies will lower the price per share just to make it look better. The other reason it was done was to make it easier to buy a round lot. But round lots are not as critical as they used to be. There used to be an eighth of a point price difference per share if you bought an odd lot. That is generally not the rule. So that was another reason. But no, there should be no difference. Now, will there be a difference? People are people. And sometimes when they say, oh, look, it's cheaper, I'm going to buy more, like some of your friends said, they're going to buy more, and that'll drive the price up. Would I worry about it? Not a bit. Wouldn't factor into my decisions. This is all just noise. As is the bid-ask spread on most ETFs. Not all. Lightly traded ETFs can have, at times, some pretty wide spreads. But we never suggest anyone get into lightly traded ETFs because often they're niche, they're expensive, they're actively managed. And the thing about after hours trading has its basis in that because there's less trading that happens after hours. Therefore, the spreads can widen. So you're wise. Don't buy after hours. Buy in the middle of the day. That's when most of the transactions are happening. And your spreads are, if you're dealing with highly traded ETFs. And we're talking ETFs trade these days at levels higher than many of the biggest stocks in the world because there are so many transactions taking place. They become so huge. I would not worry about the spread on most index ETFs, the Spiders, the Vanguards, even the Avantases and the Dimensionals, even though they're a little more niche, they still have very high trading volume. You may get a slightly wider spread there, but we really ought not quibble over what is in essence pennies. Pennies per transaction, or a couple of dollars per transaction because these are long-term purchases. Traders should worry, but we don't think anybody should be trading ETFs. That's dumb. So don't sweat it. Just noise. Just noise. If you want to ask us a question directly, we love talking in a conversation format with you. This isn't conversation, really. This is you ask, I answer. But every Saturday, Tom and I do spend 2 hours, unless, of course, Tom's going to a Raiders game in Las Vegas this weekend. We spend time conversing with you on Saturdays from 3 to 5 Eastern, noon to 2 Pacific, at 855-935-8255. 855-935-TALK. This Saturday, the 12th of October, I'm going to be hanging out by myself, so therefore, I really would appreciate you joining me because I won't have anybody to talk to if you don't. It'll just be me pontificating and monologuing, which I guess is okay if that's what you want, but conversations are more fun. So call 855-935-TALK Saturday, 3 to 5 Eastern. Otherwise, send your questions in at talkingrealmoney.com on the contact form. And if you are seeking someone to spend a little more time with than we have on the shows or the podcasts, well, we have been now for 15 years almost, been offering the services of our advisors, our fiduciary fee-only advisors, in a fiduciary capacity, but without a fee, if you're only going to use them for a few minutes to just get some basic information on your portfolio. What am I invested in? Is this properly diversified? What am I paying? What kind of a plan do I need? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? That kind of thing. Just go to talkingrealmoney.com, click the button that says Meet an Advisor, and we will set you up with one of our advisors for free, for nothing. And you're not going to get one of those sales pitches that those guys who buy you the free steak dinners give you. The full court, buy this indexed annuity or we're never letting you out of our office kind of thing. We don't do that because we don't sell product. Thank you all for being there. The greatest compliment you can give us, the greatest of all, is to tell somebody else about the podcast or the show. That helps this grow and helps other people improve their situation, because while there are a few, there are only very few shows about money that tell you the database, scientific, peer-reviewed, evidence-based truth about investing. Most people lie to make a sale. We don't. Thanks for being there. Thanks for listening. I do appreciate all of you. And remember, on Saturday, I'm going to be here with you, talking real money.
The opinions and views expressed on this podcast were current on the date recorded. Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions. Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy. Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone. This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Appella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Please see Appella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Appella's fees and services. Appella Capital, LLC, DBA Appella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Appella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. Is anybody still listening?